December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The day the Japanese Empire attacked Pearl Harbor, which was the event that eventually brought the U.S. into World War II.
Many people question why the Japanese attacked and why they chose to attack Pearl Harbor. For years, Japan and China always had conflicts with each other, mainly because Japan wanted to expand its empire into China. In 1937, Japan declared war on China, and the U.S. helped China by giving them weapons with the Lend-Lease Act. This angered the Japanese. Another reason is that Great Britain was very vulnerable to an attack from Japan because they moved most of their navy to the Atlantic in order to fight Germany. The U.S. wanted to help Great Britain, so Roosevelt crippled Japan by passing the Export Control Act, which allowed him to stop selling Japan supplies such as oil and steel. This made Japan very angry with the U.S. After all of this occurred, Japan joined the Axis powers. The U.S. then received intelligence that Japan was planning on an attack on the United States. The U.S. government thought they would attack one of the smaller islands in the Pacific. No one thought Japan would travel 4,105 miles all the way to the naval base in Pearl Harbor, but to everyone's surprise, they did. On November 26, 1941, the Japanese military set sail for Hawaii. On December 7th, the Japanese arrived, and at 8 a.m., the Japanese began a 2-hour bombardment on Pearl Harbor. The Hawaiian people awoke startled to the sound of an emergency alarm and very loud explosions. The attack targeted the naval base at Pearl Harbor in an attempt to destroy our navy and force us to take away the Export Control Act. However, the effect was opposite. Instead of forcing us into submission, the bombing only angered the U.S. and gave us a reason to join the war.
The result of the attack was devastating. Japan's surprise attack on December 7, 1941, sank or damaged 21 ships of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, including 8 battleships, 3 cruisers, 4 destroyers, and 6 other vessels. The attack also destroyed 188 airplanes and killed 2,403 Americans. Another 1,178 were injured. All the U.S. battleships were destroyed except for the USS Arizona and Utah were eventually repaired.
Roosevelt delivered his famous speech on December 8, 1941, which is the day after Pearl Harbor. In his speech, he asked Congress to declare war on Japan.
With confidence in our armed forces, with the unbounding determination of our people, we will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God. I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
After Pearl Harbor and Congress's declaration of war against Japan, Germany and Italy declared war on the U.S. and the United States was officially in World War II. After we were brought into the war, U.S. citizens showed a great amount of patriotism and many men signed up for the war. Lines were at the door at registration buildings and the U.S. was ready to fight the Axis powers.